Hi everybody, this is Kate from White Chapel Pottery in Appleton, Wisconsin. And we're doing this little gig with the Little Chute Kimberly Library. So thank you, library. It's super fun to see everybody today and show you what we do at the studio. So we thought we'd do some pottery demonstrations and tell you a little bit about the business, how we got started, and what we want to do in the future. One thing that I can show you just while we're talking is how we make some of the different mugs, bowls, plates, things that we do here. One of the objects that we have is a Wisconsin logo mug. So the first thing I'm going to throw for you today is one of those. If you're live and you have any questions, feel free to ask. And I have a happy helper behind the camera here who's going to prompt me and let me know all the different things that you're asking. So when I was in high school in New London, I had an amazing pottery teacher named Mr. Smith, and they had a great pottery program. So that's how I actually got started. I never took a college class or anything like that. It was really just one class in high school, but I loved it so much. After I graduated, I kept on doing it on my own as a hobby. And then that was 15 years ago. So I've been doing this for about 15 years. This last year, we moved out to a property in Appleton and were able to build our studio on the land, which allowed us to do the little chapel, and maybe a little bit later we can go outside and show you that chapel too.
So what are you doing right now, Kate?
Well, I'm throwing.
You're throwing, but what was that part that you just did? What is it called when you make the sides of the mug?
You start out with centering, and on my next mug I'll do another mug and I'll kind of explain a little bit more of the process.
So that's just to make the shape consistent, right?
Yep. So I make tools when I find a mug that I really like and I want to make sure that I can do a lot of the same kind. I'll make a tool and it's called a modified rib. And you just can use this tool then to get your product to be the same every time. It gives it the same shape, the same height. And then the only thing you need to double check is the width and make sure everything looks okay. So in that amount of time, we were able to get one Wisconsin mug done, and I think it looks pretty good. So this one can pop off.
We have a question. How did you pick the name White Chapel Pottery?
Oh, should we go look outside? We'll start outside and we'll show you. So picking a name was pretty hard. But then we decided to build the building to look like a little white church. So this is my studio. And obviously it looks like a little white chapel, so that's how we got the name White Chapel Pottery. Well, we'll go back inside and keep throwing a little more.
Picking a name for a business is almost as hard as naming a child. Once you go for it, then you're kind of stuck with it. But I like it. I think it's a good name.
Okay, so these tools, this is called a bat. Before you throw, you can put the bat down. And then I have a pre-weighed out amount of clay. The first step in pottery is wedging, making sure that you don't have any air bubbles, which I've already done. And the second step is centering. So the clay is super wobbly. What you want to do is make sure that it's secure on the bat, perfectly centered. So the way that I hold my hands is I can support things on the side and then on the top. Bringing it up to a cone is going to help get the clay more perfectly centered. And once there's no more wobble, then I'm good to start. next thing I want to do is open. The whole time, if it ever becomes wobbly, you always have to be constantly recentering if it gets thrown off. Okay, throwing the walls is, I think, where a lot of struggle comes in. I use a sponge to help support my hands.
Sorry for that terrible camera holding. I'm trying to plug this back in so we don't lose you from a dead battery. Okay, there we go.
Are we back on?
Yes.
Okay.
I think.
So I use about 600 grams of clay for this particular mug. Found that about 600 grams of clay can get a mug that's about 16 ounces, or holds 16 ounces of liquid.
So somebody commented that it looks so easy, but I imagine you have a lot of practice. So I'm guessing it would be helpful to kind of talk about like how long it took for you to get this proficient at being able to center it and then be able to pull a mug in, you know, only a couple minutes time.
Yep. Yeah, so it does look easy right now. It's definitely not. Sometimes it's easy now, but in the beginning, I'd say for the first 5 years is really frustrating and had a lot of struggles. The first 2 years are really hard because just learning how to get it centered, the very first thing that I do, centering it on the wheel, it really takes a long time to figure out how to do that. And you do need to build up some of your like strength and retrain some of your arm muscles. So your fingers will get stronger, your forearms will get stronger, and once all that happens, eventually it'll just, your body kind of regrows to do it better in a way. But yeah, I like, the part of the story that I like is just that you can take a class in high school and find something that you really love, and if you have a great teacher, that can make so big of a difference. Because it's probably the thing that I use from high school the most is my experience in art class. Should I make something else?
Or we could kind of show some of the other work that you have in progress, some stuff that's bisque fired, some stuff that's
Sure.
glazed, just to show the different stages of pottery. We'll have to be creative because we're on an extension cord. Here's the kiln. So this is what she fires everything in. So there's shelves and stilts and everything so that she can, you know, get everything in the kiln, make it fit, but also so things don't touch each other, because once it's firing, all the glaze can drip and meld together, especially if they're touching. Sometimes they can attach to the shelves, and then it's like breaking glass just to get them off. So it's that even just loading a kiln correctly is a skill in and of itself.
Yeah, if any of your mugs, after you put them in the kiln together, they're actually fused together, totally wasted. But kind of fun fact about firing in the kiln. So when lava comes out of a volcano, it comes out between 1100 and 2000 degrees, like as a volcano's erupting. Inside of the kiln, for all our mugs that we fire, we actually fire it to 2300 degrees, so hotter than a volcano, which I thought was really cool. Next I can show you...
We got a question. How many mugs do you make in a day on average?
Somewhere between 30 to 60 mugs in a day.
And we have another question about how do you attach the handles to the mug?
Oh, that's a good question too.
Do you have any pulled?
I can show you a couple of techniques. So I do have some handles, but they're probably dried out. Why don't I show you how I pull a handle, actually? That would be bad.
So all these pieces here on the table have already been bisque fired. So there's 2 firings for pottery. The bisque firing hardens the clay, gets any impurities out, and makes it a lot more sturdy so that you can glaze it. So then all these mugs here, they've already been glazed. So all they have to do is go back in the kiln, and then all that glaze, I mean, I'm assuming, Kate, is this clear or white?
That's white.
So this one, you know, it's a really matte, pasty white right now, but it'll come out a much different look. This is a black. So the way that the glazes actually look is more like a pastel look to them, like
So
Easter
this is,
colors, but they come out so much more vibrant after they've been fired.
I can kind of show you the steps of the process. Right here I have one of my thumbprint tumblers. These are really cool mugs that just have kind of like a hold for your thumb. So it makes for an easy grip. Use them for like water or like lukewarm tea, that kind of stuff. So this is one that I've just thrown. This is before it's been fired at all. After I fire it, this becomes the greenware. I dip the bottoms in wax so that the glaze doesn't get all over the bottom. So this is the second stage after it's been fired. Okay, then I glaze it. This one's going to be a black. After it's glazed, I fired it, and this is the finished product. So from this to this, and then the glaze after it's been through the kiln is going to turn out just like this.
We have a question. Where is your pottery for sale?
Right now you can find me on Etsy, and it's Etsy under White Chapel Pottery, and that's all under one word. But if you're local, I have locally, just email me on Facebook, White Chapel Pottery as well. And then I have items for sale at Seth's Coffee in Little Chute, and then Blue Moon Emporium and Cedar Harbor, and those are in Appleton. So I think everyone knows Blue Moon and Cedar Harbor downtown.
Mm-hmm.
But if you come over here, I'll show you how I actually pull a handle for the Wisconsin mugs.
We have another question about, do any of our kids seem interested in pottery?
Yeah, the kids have fun out here too. So we have some little projects that they made. They like making things for Beyblades or stakes for in the garden, things like that. But they do get to throw out here and they have a good time. Sometimes. It is really messy though. So.
And how long does it take for a mug to go through all those stages that you just went through?
From start to finish, it's about 2 weeks. From when like these mugs that I threw today, I'll have to let them sit and dry for a while. Each kiln firing takes over 24 hours of it being in the kiln. So yeah, it's about a 2-week process. So now here you can see I kind of pulled, there's a lot of different ways you can do handles. I personally choose this way because I feel like you can get a really consistent handle from mug to mug. So I make this long strand. Then if you come over here, kind of lay it down, and I'll let it dry for a little bit and cut each thing about 6 to 7 inches for each handle. Once everything firms up and is dry enough, I take slip, which is a really wet clay, kind of like what's all over my hands is what I'd use as a clay glue almost. And basically I just glue the top and the bottom of the handle onto the mug. This is one that we did yesterday.
Which is extraordinarily hard. She's tried to have me assist her with putting handles on, but to be able to get them in a consistent spot on the mug and to have the shape of the handle itself look good. You can just, I mean, because it's all really pliable clay, so that process by itself that's a real bear. It's one that I don't like doing at all, but she's obviously mastered it.
So we have a few more minutes.
Yeah, I think so.
I can show trimming after things are a little bit dry.
Oh, and how much does one of the, I don't know when this question came in, but I don't know if it's the thumbprint tumblers. How much does one of those cost?
On Etsy for the thumbprint thumbprint tumblers. They're for $25, but again, if you're local, just email me because I can send you a local coupon because it saves on shipping, and then you can just pick it up and it saves you like it's 15 or 20%. The Wisconsin mugs we have for sale at the shop for $30. Okay, so once it's kind of leather hard in this stage, you want to make sure that you clean up the bottoms. You can see that it's kind of rough. So this is a fun process as well. Everybody kind of likes trimming. So you take your trimming tool, scrape the bottom, make sure it's really even. You want to make sure you don't have any divots, but also be careful that you don't go all the way through to the bottom. I'll take my rib and then kind of smooth it out a little bit more. It goes in the kiln. So one more process that I thought would kind of be fun is to show you how we glaze some of the things here. A lot of our items are dipped into a big bucket, which I'll show you here. So this is our matte black color. Everything needs to be stirred really well before you can use it, just to make sure it's all mixed up and there's no clumps and no dry pieces. One aspect is normally you take a tongs and dip them. These I've already have dipped. So these are dipped and ready to go, but I want to create a texture on top of these that's called a bubble glaze. It's kind of a fun glazing process where you actually blow bubbles, like you blow bubbles into your chocolate milk glass, but you kind of blow bubbles out onto the pottery, and as they pop, it leaves a cool texture. So I'll show you how we do that. Put some hand soak in a cup, and then choose your colored glaze, and you kind of mix your glaze in with the soap. Okay. Take a straw and stir it up. You can use different things like styrofoam to hold your pottery, and then blow bubbles. Those take a little while to pop, but it's kind of fun.
You want to show us one of those that's already been glazed like that? And
you can blow it blows off. And then when it's all done, you can see how it actually shrinks quite a bit, becomes smaller, but it turns out pretty darn neat.
Two more questions that we have. What's your favorite item to make?
I don't know. I think I really like making bowls.
Bowls?
Bowls are really fun.
Sometimes vases.
Sometimes vases. This is a bowl that I made yesterday. I love the smoothness of bowls, the different things you can do with them. Mugs are cool too. I really like making those thumbprint tumblers. They're fun, and it's kind of unique.
We have a question. Do you do custom items?
Sometimes. Dustin laughed at me because sometimes, yes. We'll do custom things. It just takes longer, so be prepared to wait. And sometimes it's really hard to like take what somebody has in their head and always create it, because sometimes it gets lost in communication. But we do custom orders. Otherwise, you can always shop with what we already have done. Well, what do you think?
I think we've covered a lot. I mean, maybe I'll just go show some of the stock of what you already have on your Etsy store, and
go show stock, and then I can throw one more bowl or something in there.
okay. So these are most of the products that she has on her Etsy store already. So obviously the Wisconsin mugs are a favorite of people. We have the Mommy and Me size, and then we have these mugs that are a pretty big seller for her. And then there's modern slim mugs and some creamer pitchers and the thumbprint tumblers. And then she's got some bells that were actually originally a custom order, and she started making those on a regular basis, and she has those listed as well. And then these are a couple other bigger pieces that she's made in the past. She doesn't usually do a whole lot of that stuff, but yeah, pottery is so awesome because you can do so many different things, and kind of if you think it up, you can make it. These are some unique, where she wedged together 2 different color clay and then just did a clear glaze over. We keep losing connection. Oh, there, we're back. Sorry about the poor Wi-Fi. And what is the giveaway item for this live event?
Oh, Wisconsin mug.
Yes, so those ones that I just showed earlier. And then how do people enter to be able to win?
My electricity popped.
Oh no. Well, I know the answer to this
How
one.
many people entered to win?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
they engage in this video. So liking, commenting, sharing, whatever, somehow engaging in this video post will get your name entered into a random drawing for a Wisconsin mug from White Chapel Pottery. And yes, she does have a Facebook page. It's just under White Chapel Pottery. And I think when we were talking about that, the post actually went a little, the Wi-Fi was a little finicky. So yeah, check out her Facebook page, her Etsy store. She's got all kinds of stuff on there. And then, of course, you can always look at what we have at the coffee shop that's on the shelves for sale. So we'll just watch you throw this last piece, and then we'll wrap it up.
That sounds good. But thank you to the library. We love the local library. Use it all the time, so it's fun to do some stuff with them. So again, here I'm pulling the walls. I'm making sure that I leave a nice lip at the top because I'd like this to be a bowl that kind of goes out. I'm going to trim the foot of my pot. I'm going to shape the body. I think we've got a visitor.
We do.
Come and see. This is our daughter.
Lucy, can you say hi? Hi. Lucy loves doing pottery.
Yeah, she does.
And yes, Kate does make all the mugs for Seth's Coffee and Little Shoot. So if you come in and get a 8, 12, or 16 ounce latte or coffee, and you have it for dine-in, that's what we serve in, is all of Kate's work.
All right.
So there's a nice bowl.
Now we have a nice bowl. And after you're done throwing, you can always add any textures or patterns or slips. You can do kind of fun things with the rim like I did on that other bowl. Just add a few swirls for dimension. Just gives it kind of a different look, so a nice little candy bowl. And that's it.
All right.
So thanks everybody.